So thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to talk about how to help our children thrive in uncertain times. Thank you for making the time and happy Saturday. It's so nice to meet you. My name is Dr. Silvi. I am an associate at Bonnie's Associates. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and brain coach. I specialize in treating anxiety disorders and mood difficulties, as well as specialize in the treatment of obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, in children and adults. I also have a background in resilience and happiness research, so all the clinical recommendations provided today are also mindful to provide support to develop positive emotions in ourselves and our kids as well. A little bit about my background. My family's Cuban. I was raised in Puerto Rico and Miami. So if I always tell my clients and my families, guys, if I mispronounce a word or I mess up a metaphor, please let me know. I'm always wrong. That's one of the beautiful things of being English as a second language learner. Yeah. All right, so let's do this. Let's start off. Feel free to add any questions to the chat, and those will be sent to me and answered towards the end of the presentation. Today I'll be talking for about 40 minutes, and then after that we're going to take questions towards the end, about 10 minutes of questions, whatever we might get to then. Okay, so our topics today are, we're going to talk about how do we talk about emotions with our kids. I call this emotion smarts, how to help them identify emotions, what to do with those emotions. We're going to talk about brain smarts. That's a way of how can we help our kids think in a way with a growth mindset in mind. We're going to talk about positive emotions, in particular 2 positive emotions that are incredibly powerful, are gratitude and hope. So we're going to talk about how those play a role in our children's lives and ours as well, and how to build those in our families. And finally, I want to take care of you. So I want to give you resources to take care of yourself. Parent self-care is extremely important. And you'll know by the end of this presentation that I love resources. I want you to have resources to have later on if you need anything. So lots of resources provided at the end of this presentation as well. Right. So let's talk about emotion smarts, guys. So emotion smarts is that concept of emotional intelligence. We all have our strong, big emotions. And I always tell my clients, guys, if there was a class for this at school, you'd be rocking it. But there's no class in particular that teaches us what are our big emotions and what do we do with them. And when we think about emotions, it's really important to know how do we identify emotion dysregulation in our kids, because every child is very different. I wanted to provide this resource because anxiety in particular can present in so many different ways. All our kids are a little bit different. One child might have trouble sleeping. Another child is going to be irritated. Another child might be very perfectionistic with their work. So helping you identify, okay, this is an emotion regulation difficulty, will then help us problem solve from there, okay? So when I think about developing emotion smarts for my coaching clients, I teach them about bravery first, right? Big emotions are often a byproduct of fear. If we think about it, it's fear of failure, fear of social interactions, fear to let those we love down. Fear. So it's important for our kids to know what being brave really is. I call it their armor. So when fear shows up, we have a bravery plan for that. I want you to explain to your children, I'll also talk to them this later this morning to them as well, explain to them that bravery isn't never being scared. It means doing something even though we feel scared to do it. The interesting thing about fear is that while uncomfortable, it's often a sign that we're doing something new, about to learn something new, challenge ourselves in some way, and really grow. And the other side of that experience is bravery. And I may use courage and bravery interchangeably throughout the presentation as well. So at our practice, I explain to my clients that courage comes from after slaying the dragon, right? It's important to have that conversation with our kids that it's normal to feel fear. We seldom feel totally ready to do something new. That's not how our brains work. Anything new is really a threat, right? So it's important to let them know, hey, bravery doesn't mean never being scared. It means doing something even though we're scared. And to become brave, we need to learn to tolerate feeling scared and not let fear hold us back. And the fun fact, feeling scared is often a sign that you're about to do something new, you're about to grow, or you're about to take on a challenge. So my recipe for bravery for my clients is as follows. We want to develop our brain smarts. So a way of thinking that's going to help us in tough situations. Then I want you to develop your big emotion smarts. That's knowing what to do with them when those big emotions come up. And then we feel courage, we feel brave. Okay? So let's start with emotion smarts. Emotions play a super important role in our lives and how we think and behave. Emotions compel us to act and influence decisions we make about our lives. Emotions motivate us to take action. They help us survive. They help us make decisions. And as the visual shows, each emotion is communicating. I always tell my kids, that emotion is giving us a message. What is it trying to tell us, right? So my 3 steps for supporting our kids' emotional smarts is as follows. 1, we gotta validate the emotion. So highlighting and re-emphasizing what Dr. Bonnie talked about this morning in her wonderful keynote, we have to connect and validate our children's emotion, not to help them not only identify what they're experiencing, but also what to do with it. And I'll give you more examples of that through the connect and redirect strategy. I want to help you support them in identifying emotion with strategies such as use of feeling charts, feeling wheels, and I think it's also very important to identify what's the size of this problem, because I'm constantly working and coaching with my clients of if it's a small problem, what kind of solution does it need? Does it need a big solution or a small one? It's really important to help them pair up response with the size of the problem, okay? And then I want to encourage engagement in coping skills. We can calm our body. We can calm ourselves. That's part of the self-empowerment process. And I'm going to give you some strategies for that. First one is progressive muscle relaxation, and then we have brain breaks. So to understand the emotional expression, I think it's really helpful to learn what's happening in our child's brain. The families that I work with, I'm really geeky at first, and I'm teaching them everything about their brain, what our brain does, and help them understand why their body is responding the way it does to big emotion. So this is a great model, the brain hand model by Dr. Dan Siegel. I really appreciate his work. And I have some resources in his books on the resource list at the end. He wrote The Whole Brain Child and also No Drama Discipline. So he explains that if we use our hand, the amygdala is that inner deepest part of our brain that's sole job is to keep us safe. So we call that the guard dog. Then we have our prefrontal cortex, this part in the front and also behind our forehead. That's our PFC, prefrontal cortex, or the wise owl. That's the part of our brain that helps us plan, organize, make smart decisions. When we're upset and we experience big emotions, boop, our guard dog is in charge of our brain because our wise owl goes offline. So we need to help our child bring back their use of the wise parts of their brain in order to problem solve and move forward. Okay? So this is an example of command and demand. So command and demand would be the child is having an upset, and then we just, instead of mirroring and validating the emotion, we counteract with, what are you doing? What's going on? What's the problem? Instead, we want to connect and redirect. So connecting first with our child, the short-term benefit is that it moves them from reactivity to receptivity. So instead of the guard dog being in charge of their brain, it helps their wise owl come up. Okay, the long-term benefit is that it builds your child's brain, and it's also a relational benefit, right? Helping them connect to you and trust you with their emotions. So the first thing we do is that we have to validate the emotion or mirror. It looks like you're feeling really upset. I can tell that this is really bothering you. Virtual schooling is really tough. So mirroring what they're experiencing is not only giving them language, it's also helping them feel like, oh, they get it. My mom understands, my dad understands how I feel. It's important that we stop and listen. When our child's emotions are exploding and they're extremely activated, we need to help slow their system down through mirroring. I always recommend come down to their eye level, right? As you see in the picture, the mom is on her knees. It's important to use eye contact, to slow down your words, to lower your volume. As human beings, we have this beautiful biological ability to replicate what the person we're interacting with is doing. If the person we're interacting with is activated, we're going to mirror that. But if the person we're interacting with is calm and talking slowly, that's going to help my parasympathetic system calm down, which is the calming system in our body. Okay? Once we've supported coming back to a calmer space, we can help support identify what they're experiencing. So we forget often that our children, and especially the young ones, they are experiencing certain emotions for the first time, guys. So it can feel very dysregulating. It can feel extremely overwhelming to feel disappointment to a degree for the first time, or to feel lonely in a special way because of our community circumstances. So that dysregulation can feel really scary and our kids feel out of control. So it's important to help them not only normalize, right? All feelings are okay, but what do we call this emotion? What does it look like? What does it feel like, right? So I really love this example of a feelings chart that has depictions of what their body and their face might look like so that they can select it, right? So in this example, this child is feeling bored and worried. So then I would have them say out loud, right now I feel bored and worried, and I will remember that all feelings are okay. Then I ask them to, let's figure out the size of this problem. Is it a small problem that can be solved easily, or maybe if we leave it alone, it'll go away? Medium problems, we might need help from somebody else. And big problems are emergencies. I really emphasize that big problems are, we got injured in a significant way, we need an adult's help right away, dangerous situations, so that I can then help them calibrate. If it's a medium problem, we have a medium response for it, okay? This next example of a feelings wheel is an emotion sensation wheel that I love for younger clients because it helps support the identification of what's happening in their body and how they can interpret that. So if you notice this wheel by Lindsay Bryman, the middle inner circle is our core emotions. Outside of that is our secondary emotions, and the outer ring, those are body sensations. And often we don't help our kids link up what their body does when they feel a certain emotion. Let's say they're feeling really jumpy. Gosh, that might be excitement. Let's say they are feeling like they need to move around, or their face is scrunched up. They might be disappointed. So helping them identify, hey, what's your body doing and what feeling might go with that is also imperative for their emotion identification skills and emotional intelligence as well. All right, so once we identify what the emotion is, we emphasize, I can calm my body. I can do certain things to calm my body. So this is a great strategy. There are a lot of coping skills out there, guys, and I'm sure you're aware of that, but I categorize them in two categories. So for example, there are physical coping strategies, and then there are breath work, more calming strategies as well. Some of my kids thrive with the physical ones. Some of them have a really tough time just sitting and breathing in a special way. So that's why I really like progressive muscle relaxation, a great example of a physical coping strategy. So this is an example of a script, but I would walk them through it. Okay, we're going to take 3 deep breaths. Now I want you to squeeze certain parts of your body for 5 seconds, then you're going to let it go. So this physical coping strategy, it's in order to override that natural muscle tension that happens whenever there is any sort of anxious arousal. When our guard dog is in charge of our brain, it's going to tell all the muscles in our body to tense up because you're about to do something scary. You need to fight, flight, or freeze. So PMR, or progressive muscle relaxation, helps override that message and calm our system down. Brain breaks are a great activity, quick activity to get the blood pumping and wake up our brain as well as calm our system down. I always recommend these activities to my families that have been adjusting to virtual schooling. These activities not only help support emotion regulation, but they also help us regain focus during the school day. So any of these activities like hopping in one foot for a minute, doing 10 somersaults, doing cartwheels is going to get us more ready to learn, and it's also going to calm our system down. An example of a calming breath strategy is the rollercoaster breathing that I'm also going to teach your kids later on today. So it's easy. We're going to put our hand out and we're going to trace it with our other hand. When we go up, we breathe in. When we go down the roller coaster slowly, we breathe out. We're going to trace both our hands, and that's allowing for 10 deep breaths, with also the imagery of a roller coaster, so that they're thinking about the counting, the breath, and helping calm their system down. I'm also adding an additional calming breath strategy called the Hummingbird to your kids. So if you want to ask them later this afternoon, hey, can you teach me the Hummingbird? That'll make them feel really proud that they got to teach you something too. All right, let's talk about brain smarts, guys. So brain smarts means helping our kids understand how to use their brain in a way that's going to help them through tough times. So the first thing that I'm going to teach the kids today as well is thoughts are really powerful. Based on the cognitive behavioral therapy model, or CBT model, I teach them what we think really influences the way we feel and what we do. It's important to have a can-do attitude. So that comes from growth mindset, where we see challenges as opportunities and we understand that we can always make our brain grow. The power of yet is incredibly important to make sure that they're feeling like they can problem solve when things get tough, and also recognizing that mistakes make our brain grow. Okay. All right, I'm putting some markings on the slides and I'm not sure how to make those go away. So I'll just keep going. All right, so the CBT model explains that our thoughts are powerful. The words in our mind can make us feel good or bad and influence our emotions. So something happens and then we think something, we feel it, and then we do something about it. All those things are connected and all those things influence each other. So a situation that we're all going through right now is we must attend school virtually. One child is thinking, it's not fair, this is hard, and I miss my friends. They're mad and sad, and they start working and argue or yell. Another child might think, we're learning from home, I'm staying safe and healthy, this is hard, and I can do it. They're calm, confident, and they keep working. So I'm going to do these activities with your kids later so that they understand, gosh, the way I think really affects the way I feel and what I do. Okay, let's talk growth mindset quickly. Growth mindset is a buzzword in my field and in education, thanks to the wonderful work of Carol Dweck. Growth mindset is the understanding that we can build our abilities, that we're not born good at something, that with dedication and hard work, our abilities can be developed. So it's important that we teach our kids practice makes progress. Mistakes, they're necessary, and they make our brain stronger, and we can change our thoughts with our words. We can change the way we feel with these thoughts as well. Okay, so I teach all my kids that our brain is a supercomputer, and it has these tiny cells called neurons that send messages to one another. When we practice something over and over and over, those cells communicate easier and easier. So maybe when you're starting to do something new, it might feel really hard. The more you practice, the easier it gets. And it's biology. I teach them about their brain that way. Next, I want to teach them about the power of yet. So yet is a small little word that we can add to those very stuck phrases like I don't get it, I can't do it, it didn't work. Just adding the word yet allows for problem solving and for possibilities to be discussed. So instead of saying I can't do this, I can't do this yet. Instead of I don't get it, I don't get it yet. I love this poem and I wanted to share it with you. I want you to share it with your kids. I think it's helpful to have it around the home and discuss. So this is a poem called Yet by Heidi Harrell. There are so many things you want to know, so many ways you want to grow. There's so many things you want to be, so many milestones you want to see. You will get there if you never forget the superpower of the word yet. When you first tried to talk, you were hard to understand. When you first tried to eat, you needed a hand. When you first tried to walk, you fell and fell. When you first tried to run, it didn't go well. But your baby self knew something we often forget, the superpower of the word yet. Somehow you knew that if you kept trying, your chances of success would keep multiplying. The same is true with every risk that you take. You just have to learn from every mistake. Where you put forth effort, the goal will be met as long as you remember the superpower of yet. All right, so let's help our kids change their brain with their words. When they say, this is too hard, we help them reframe. This will require effort, and you and I are going to find the right strategy. When they want to say, or they say, I give up, okay, we got this. I'll succeed if I try and find a better way to figure this out. I'm not smart like my friends are. Hey, you're in charge of how smart you are because your brain grows whenever you learn hard things. So remember to reframe those stuck language to have it be more in line with growth mindset. All right, so this is a parent guide, an additional resource that I'm including for you all. It's from the wonderful organization Big Life Journal, and it has recommendations for how to praise our kids, how to recognize our own mindset, what questions to ask to build growth mindset as well, and this will be in your resources that you will receive. Now let's talk about positive emotions, in particular gratitude and hope. Gratitude is my favorite positive emotion. It opens doors to more relationships. When we feel grateful, studies show that we improve physical health. We have less visits to the doctor. It improves our psychological health. It enhances empathy, reduces aggression. Grateful people sleep better. This is an antidote to a lot of the things that we're feeling right now. So an attitude of gratitude is helpful to build. How do we build gratitude? A simple evidence-based strategy is 3 good things. Every day on the walk with your kids, during breakfast, at lunch, what are 3 things that went well today? What are 3 things that you liked? Sometimes just saying what you're grateful for, the language might not be in line developmentally with our kids. So it's just something that you liked. You liked that song that was playing, or you liked doing that activity with your friend today. I've also included gratitude prompts, so questions that you can ask and ask your children to finish the sentence. A strength of mine for which I'm grateful for is, something money can't buy that I'm grateful for is. To build this through a great resource, Wholehearted School Counseling as well. Then hope. So hope is a desire. So I want something, I believe I'm going to get it, so I feel hopeful. Like gratitude, there are a lot of evidence-based benefits to hope. Hope reduces physical pain. Research has found that it actually boosts our circulation and respiration system, which is super helpful right now. And optimism improves our cardiovascular health. So it's believing good things are going to happen. Challenges are opportunities. So how do we increase hope in our kids? An evidence-based approach is the best possible selves activity. So I ask our kids, and we can also do it for ourselves, imagine yourself in the future, everything turned out as well as possible on a piece of paper, draw it or talk about it or write about it, be very specific. So help them dream in a way where things work out for them in order to boost hope. Then this is a slide that your kids are going to have as well. How do we put this all together? I want them to be able to say, I can change the way I think to change the way I feel because my thoughts are powerful. Those are smarts. I can figure out how I feel so I can use brain breaks to feel better. Those are emotion smarts. There's so many things I'm thankful for. There's our gratitude, and then my future is bright. There's hope. All right, last couple of minutes, not that this is not important. This is the most important. I want to take care of you. It's important to take care of yourself. We've all heard it before at an airplane, which we will travel again soon. I am hopeful. They ask you to put your mask on first before your child. You cannot pour from an empty cup. build community of support. There are a lot of creative ways of building community right now. Some of my families have found parenting groups through Facebook, through different social platforms, so that they can discuss what are ways that you're keeping your family safe, so that you can feel like you're not doing this alone. Delegate, delegate, delegate. It's important too. And my, most ambitious and hardworking clients are often the ones that want to do things on their own. Delegate to your partners, to your neighbors, to your trusted friends, so that they can help you balance all the things that you have going on. Engage in restorative activities, and I'll talk about different types of restorative activities that we can do. And physical activity, movement, that's always going to be very protective, and making time for it is worth it. Right, so this is a self-care wheel. It was developed by Dr. Phoenix, a trauma specialist. When we think about self-care, we think about that bubble bath and that glass of wine. That's not necessarily what's going to mean self-care for you. There are different types of self-care that we need to be mindful of. So this includes psychological, emotional, spiritual, and personal. And here in your resource, you'll have examples for those. So I encourage you to take a look, see where you're at with each different type of self-care, and notice, okay, I'm a little bit low in personal self-care. I'll work on that this week. I put together a mini self-care challenge for you guys for 12 days. You can change the activities if you want to, but it's just think about, on day 1, I'm going to wear something that I love. Day 2, I'm going to read a little bit of something that I enjoy. But having a little bit of intention and goals is going to be helpful as well. Also, self-care activities for our families based on the different types of self-care. These are examples of things we can do. For spiritual self-care with our kids, we can do a gratitude list together. For social, we can play in the park in physically distant ways. And then finally, I want to give you more resources. These you can have in your pocket, kind of like having me as a coach on your pocket. So Insight Timer is a great free app. In particular, I really like the guided relaxation practices by Tom Evans. Oops, let me go back. By Tom Evans, called Be Calm and Muji, Nothing Here But You. Smiling Mind is an excellent resource to learn mindfulness skills for free. In particular, I recommend 2 programs, Thrive Inside and Sleep Program for Adults if you're having trouble sleeping. And they also have mindfulness practices, videos, and guided practices by age group. So for younger kids, teens, and adults. So great resource there. And Anti-Stress is a great app with some simple activities that will help distract our mind in order to help us self-soothe as well. Thank you so much for your time and attention. At the end of this presentation, you have more resources, more handouts, recommendations for TV shows, books, and things like that that are going to grow growth mindset. And you have also my contact information if you need anything. Please reach out. I'm happy to help. All right, so I'm going to take a look here at some questions that I was sent. So let me take a look. Okay. I'm not sure if I can see the chat, but I'll look here. All right, so the first question is, where can a parent get training to be able to assist their child and children? Okay, so people like me, I'm a parent coach. Dr. Bonnie is a parent coach. So practices like my practice, and also there's a lot of resources online, guys. So I recommend resources like the Big Life Journal. They have great email blasts that they send out. They have recommendations on how to talk to our kids about different topics, videos, as well as podcasts. And now they just have a web series that they started on YouTube too that helps kids and parents navigate tough times, talk about their emotions, and also develop growth mindset. How do we help a child understand that a problem does not warrant such a big reaction? Yeah, this is something that I'm often working with in coaching. So I think having a visual for it. So I usually give my families a visual of the size of the problem, right? Is this a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 level problem. 5 level problems are emergencies and they warrant this type of response. So I would practice with them what kind of response would each level have. And there are examples for these types of resources online. You can just look up reaction size visuals. So those are great for younger children. And then we practice ahead of time. Hey, if it's an argument with your brother, does it need a level 5 response or a level 2 response? A level 2. This is what that would look like. So engaging in that language is helpful. I've added a ton of book recommendations at the end of this slide. So books for books about feelings in particular, I can send over. That one I'm going to have to think about to recommend. So I'll send it over to Carrie to send over to all the families. Parent journals that can help strengthen communication. Child parent journals. Yeah, there's a great journal that one of my clients actually shared with me that it is a mother-daughter or father-son journal where it has 2 sides. One side is the child either asking a question or doing a prompt, and then the other side, the parent is also filling it in. So it's kind of a combination strategy that really helps a parent and child communicate together, and I can also send a link for that for everybody. How can we calm kids when we also feel a high level of anxiety during the pandemic and other issues currently plaguing our country? Yeah, this is where self-care comes in, guys. Yeah, because our kids mirror us, they look to us to understand emotion. They look to us to understand, should I be scared? Should I be brave? So you have to take care of yourself first and almost like, okay, this is a moment where I need to take a second. I need to delegate a task, or I need to take a deep breath. I need to do rollercoaster breathing for a second, and then I can do it with them so that I'm able to mirror them appropriately. So it's about self-care and seeking support. Right. And then finally, how do we talk about big issues with our children? How do we break things down to reassure them that things will get better? So I think the answer is within that question there, right? It's breaking things down, helping them identify. We have a lot of wisdom and experience in terms of situations, the emotions, the process that it goes through. We understand that emotions are like waves. They're always going to come down. I want you to, and I always tell my clients this, share with your kids the blueprint of your brain. Share with your kids, gosh, this is a big problem. I had this trouble at work and I was feeling scared, so this is what I did. Give them a blueprint of what you do with your emotions so that creates a template for themselves as well. Help them break down things in the same way that you're sharing how you break down things. So you are a wealth of information for your kids. I think often we assume that they're getting it if they're seeing us be resilient, but I want you to narrate it for them so that they're really understanding what to do next. All right, so those are all my text message questions. Let me know if there are any other questions.
We have 2 more questions, Dr. Guerra.
Of course, I'll put up my resources on here for you guys.
Would you like me to read the first one?
Yes, please. Thank you.
I want to support my daughter's social emotional well-being. However, she does not want to complete her work during distance learning. When I try to encourage her or help her complete work, it causes friction. Do you have any advice?
Yeah. Okay. So very common problem right now. So what I usually coach my families on is that emotion, that response is giving us a message. We're not sure that she's feeling overwhelmed. We're not sure if she's feeling bored. We're not sure what she's feeling. So helping identify the emotion will help us problem solve. The other thing that I also recommend is using the when-then strategy. When we complete our work, when we have a successful, fully participation in class day, then you get to earn this reward. Rewards are important, guys, especially for this age group. It's important to do external motivators to help their intrinsic motivation as well. So when you have a really great class today, then we're going to go to the park together. For one of my families, we created a success ladder for the day. So it's a visual that the child has after, and we have steps for the day. When I do my first class, I get like a point for that. When I participate in my second class, I get a point. And when he gets his 5 points for the day, which are engaging in the behaviors that we want to encourage, then he gets to earn points, he gets to earn money towards he wants to get a drum set. So he has a reward menu that he's then being able to save up for. So external motivators, and also identifying what is that emotion really telling us, because if it's boredom, it's a different response than feeling perhaps overwhelmed.
Another parent stated they would like you to review the emotional wheel again. They said they have a fifth grader who would find this useful, or do you have other supportive material?
Of course. Okay, so in your resources, you're going to get a feelings chart like this. So this is an example of one. It has all the different emotions, but I believe you said emotions wheel. So let me go back to the emotion sensation wheel. Going all the way back. All right, so here's our emotion sensation wheel. So how I would coach a child with this is I would let them know, okay, we all have these like core emotions. Those are the ones in the middle. It's kind of the ones we think about. We saw it Inside Out. It's fear, it's anger, it's surprise, it's happy. But sometimes that in itself is not going to describe what we're feeling. There's a secondary emotion to that, because feeling happy when you're proud, it feels really different than feeling happy and peaceful, right? So what I really like about this wheel that I'm sharing with you guys is that it also adds the behaviors and how your body is expressing the emotion. So instead of starting from the inner out, with my kids that have more difficulty with emotion identification, I start out in. I first say, what do you feel in your body right now? Do you feel jumpy? Do you feel like you want to like hide? Do you feel sleepy? Do you feel like relaxed? Okay, that gives us evidence. Now let's go into the second. If we're feeling relaxed, I think you might be feeling peaceful. Do you think that's peaceful? Okay, then we're in the happy zone. And I always do like zones for kids at this age too. So you're in the green zone, so that we have a shorthand with each other of, okay, we're in the green, we're in the red, or if we're in the red, how do we get back to green? If we're in the anger zone, what's a coping skill that we can do together to get back to the green? Because we like it in the green, right? So I think this is a great resource to have. I encourage my parents to have it saved on their phone, to have a copy at home, put it on their fridge and be like, okay, we're having an emotion. Where are we at? Let's figure it out together. Any other questions? Sounds like we're good. Awesome. Okay, so thank you so much for your attention. For the kiddos, I really encourage you to ask your kiddos to join. I have a very interactive presentation planned with them based on these topics, so it'll be supplemental to what you've learned so that they can teach you some stuff, and you can also emphasize to them what are some strategies they can be using. I apologize for all the switching. I just want to put my resources up for you right here towards the end. So as you can see, I'm recommending podcasts that you can listen to as a family, movies and videos, different examples of coping skills checklists for you as well as some videos. I love Sesame Street, does great work around explaining big emotions. And then finally here, your resources, books, as well as recommended counseling resources that I use today as well. All right, so make sure to do your poll, everybody, and I look forward to working with your kids.